Well, it's been a hot minute, but back in September, I asked you to ask me anything, and now we're getting around to the answers. That's how much I care about my Ask Me Anythings. No, really, I do. I honestly do. So let's jump right in and answer your questions. Stuart says, have I ever done Sam the Bellhop or something similar? I have my own version of Sam the Bellhop, but it's not a traditional story in the sense where you're telling a story and the cards are popping out. My version of that is called Best for Last. And again, you can search it on YouTube. Jason Ludenny, Best for Last. And it's the same idea where you're telling a story, but I left out all the cards being characters. It wasn't really my thing. So it's a story of basically dealing all the ranks of hands in poker. And basically it's the same idea where the cards just are kind of telling the story as you go. But I left out the story and made it more just, I don't know, more of a demonstration of poker than a story. What's my favorite Coltrane record? Blue Train. Next question. Honest question, do I ever get bored of live shows? Same pattern, same jokes, same tricks? No, because every show is different. You read the audience. The audience is telling you what to do. So throughout the night, people are saying different things or doing different things or acting in a different way, responding in a different way, and that means your show is fresh because the structure of the show is the same, but you're really ad-libbing 30% of your show is just fun with the audience, and it's different every night. I would not want to be a robot and say the same exact. I couldn't do it. You have to live with what your audience gives you. That way you won't get bored. But if you go up with a strict script and try to do that like a monologue every single night, you'll get sick of that in a heartbeat. So, and also I have nobody's running my show but me. So if I want to swap out the second half of my show or change the closer or do 4 new tricks in a night, I can do that. So it's getting bored is your fault. Change it up and keep it fresh and work with your audience and you'll have a different show every night of the week, even though the structure is the same. What is my favorite movie? That's impossible to answer. Departed. It's not my favorite, but it's a good one. Shawshank Redemption, Casino Royale, Heat, Casino, the Batman, Nolan's Batman trilogy. It's not a movie, but the series, Hannibal, with Mads Mikkelsen. All of the Hannibal movies were fantastic. I do watch those over and over again because they're Chinatown. The movies that you can watch over and over again are great, great movies. And they just never get old. So it's impossible to narrow it down to one like anything else, but that's just an example of the kind of stuff that I like, movies like that. Who are my favorite blues artists that influenced me? Albert Collins was one of my first, and then Stevie Ray Vaughan came after that because he was so aggressive, just like he forced you to, he just played and you had to listen. And then a funny story, I heard Stevie Ray Vaughan first and got very familiar with his tunes and his style. And 2 years after that, I heard Albert King. The guys in the band put Albert King on. We were driving somewhere, and I was like, "Who's this guy stealing all of Stevie's licks? Like, why would this guy steal Stevie like this?" And 5 people turned around, looking at me, saying, "That's the other way around." Stevie ripped off all the Albert chops. So Albert King is probably the most influential player, but also B.B. King. It's kind of like those 2 titans. Molded the kind of player I am today, but T-Bone Walker, Ronnie Earl, Duke Robillard, all those guys in that, just those titans of blues, those guys created everything, and it's like everything is based off that. And oddly enough, even today, if you hear a great song today and it's got a lot of soul and power in it, there's usually Albert King lines that our backup singers are doing, or some instrument is playing those classic Albert King lines. Alicia Keys tunes, you'll hear like Albert King influence in there. There's a Pink Floyd song that has Albert King influence in it. So Albert King is still influencing music today. He really is. He's really probably and Freddie King. How could you forget Freddie King as well, the trilogy. George, have I ever had an injury or something happened that I had to modify a trick? Yes, just recently. I did the knife trick. And I do that trick so often that I let my guard down. When I was peeling away the packet, my thumb was a lot closer to the blade than I thought. I pulled it off and sliced my thumb open. And like 2 days later, we had a show. And I put a Band-Aid on it, And when I would shuffle the cards, I couldn't feel anything. I couldn't feel anything at all. So fortunately, in 2 days, I was able to heal up enough that we did the show without a Band-Aid so I could feel the cards. And I had a Band-Aid on stage in case I needed it, but it was going to be super dramatic if I'm shuffling the cards and all of a sudden my thumb is my thumb is bleeding all over the deck and everything. So I didn't want that to happen. But fortunately, the shuffle, I was a bit cautious on the shuffles, but that was a bad one because it was right where I shuffle cards. But as far as major injuries go, I did, when I was younger, I was 19 years old and I had some hairline fractures in my thumbs. And I did a show on the piano, believe it or not. And I'll never forget, the ball of my thumb was about this big and purple on both thumbs. Not recommended. Would not do again. That was no fun at all. But for cards, every now and then I'll have a cut or a burn or something on my fingers that affects the feel. But other than that, not much of anything worth talking about. Sam says, how did my brother get into doing magic? He didn't really. I mean, every kid goes through that thing. So he was like 17 or 18 years old and he just knew a couple cool tricks, but he was just showing me something. It wasn't a hobby of his. He just showed me a cool trick. And then I made it a career. He went on to be a car mechanic. And I'm a card mechanic. See how that works? You've mentioned several times that everything I post will be published. When can I expect a new release? I have, the third book is completed. What's been happening is people are posting things that I've written in my first and second book without credit. They're just putting it on the internet as if it belonged to them. And that troubles me about my third book. Why would I spend 10 years writing a book if it's going to blow up someone else's channel without credit? So what are we supposed to do? You tell me what we're supposed to do. When we get that sorted out, then you'll get a third book. Jake Baker says, do I prefer to perform standing up or seated? Well, it's split because standing up in front of your audience has a certain power to it. However, the kind of stuff that we do, the table work, the gambling demonstrations, look better when you're seated. So what you want to avoid if you are putting together a show, if you are a magician, you want to avoid standing up, sitting down, standing, right, like all night long, like alternating. You're throwing the audience off. So try to build your set so that you're seated for the first half and then maybe the last two tricks you stand or something. So it's not this back and forth all night long. So that your audience is kind of getting distracted by you constantly shifting around. And the worst is to stand up and sit down within the same trick. Like, what are you doing? So standing is powerful, but like I said, blackjack, poker, dealing demonstrations, standing, it just doesn't work. You have to sit for those so it's authentic. Raphael says, do I have a stretch or exercise routine for the hands? No. I don't feel, I've been doing this for 40 years. I haven't any issues with my hands as related to cards. For piano, I do exercises for speed and things like that, but I haven't noticed any kind of issues with my hands at all. But like I said, for piano, you want speed and power, so you have to do exercise there. With cards, I've never really felt like I've needed any kind of exercise before I warm up or do a show or anything like that. I just do the show. Any advice for people trying to start doing magic shows? Get in front of people as much as you can. Performing for your bedroom mirror doesn't do anything. And performing for your wife or the same person over and over and over again doesn't do anything either. You need to get out in the real world and perform as much as possible. All that feedback that you need to grow and learn comes from them. So yeah, perform as much as possible.